Sienna God, hello all. Afternoon, good afternoon. I want to thank you for watching. So this is day one, part B of reading Hollywood Babylon by Kenneth Angers. All right, so I got cut off in part of that sentence. So it says, the shocking news that first revealed Hollywood in a scandalous light arrived on September 10th, 1920 in the form of a Marconi radiogram that waked Myron Selznick, Selznick, in the middle of the night. The message made front page headlines. Olive Thomas dead from poison. Olive Thomas sprightly Ziegfeld, 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 Follies Queen, Ziegfeld Follies Queen, Selznick picture star, and Mrs. Jack Pickford. The cablegram informed the head of Selznick Pictures that his top star had just been found dead in Paris. The sedate, renowned Hotel Crillon, Crillon, on the Place de la Concorde, was a most unlikely set-in for Hollywood's first scandal. On that September morning, the valet used his passkey to enter the hotel's royal suite with a breakfast trolley. What he saw froze him in his tracks. A sable opera cape was spread out on the floor, and on it lay a nude young woman. Okay, so here's Olive Thomas. It says, picture of innocence. One hand still clutched a bottle of toxic bichloride of mercury granules. Whoa. The suite was registered in the name of Mrs. Jack Pickford, known to millions of adoring fans as the bright young star of the silver screen, Olive Thomas. Olive Thomas, New York remembered her as one of the most beautiful brunettes Ziegfeld had ever glorified. Ziegfeld's showgirls were invariably young, and at 16, Olive was a poised, vivacious young lady, much sought after by cafe society. Darling of the Vogue and Vanity Fair crowd, ornament of the penthouse parties given by the publisher of those modish magazines, Condé Nast, Condenast. Through the ministrations of Mr. Nast, Olive had appeared frequently as a fashion model in the pages of Vogue, and Mr. Ziegfeld singled her out to pose unclothed for a young Peruvian artist, Alberto Vargas. So this says Olive and Jack, quote unquote, ideal couple. I don't know if you can see that or not. The artist Harrison Fisher called Olive, in quotes, the most beautiful woman in the world, end quote. Her subsequent departure for Hollywood seemed only natural. The bubbly beauty from Broadway, quote unquote, caught on at once in the film Colony, and her pert portrayals of young girlhood in light comedies like Betty Takes a Hand, Prudence on Broadway, and inevitably The Follies Girl swiftly won her a wide following. In 1919, Myron Selznick launched his newly formed company by signing Elaine Hammerstein and Olive Thomas to lucrative contracts. In 1920, with Olive's success, the flapper, and her much publicized marriage to Jack Pickford, Mary Pickford's brother and himself an idol on the screen, her place in the charmed circle of golden people seemed assured. The suicide of Olive Thomas made headlines around the world and touched off furious controversy. Olive was just 20 when she died. She had youth, beauty, wealth, fame, and love, and not only the adulation of her fans, but the adoration of Jack Pickford. Young Jack had been characterized as the quote-unquote ideal American boy in such films as 17, Olive as the quote-unquote ideal American girl in The Tomboy. They were portrayed in the new fan magazines as quote-unquote the ideal couple. What could have made Olive Thomas kill herself? Olive's studio, whose slogan was, in quotes, Selznick Pictures create happy homes, end quote, was deluged with letters. The American Embassy in Paris and the French police promised complete investigations. What the investigations of Olive's death disclosed, and the papers headlined, was a lurid private life that did not tally at all with her Hollywood image as a sweet young thing. Jack Pickford had been due to join Olive in Paris as soon as he completed work on The Little Shepherd of Kingdom Come. They had planned on a Paris idyll, IDYLL, to make up for the honeymoon, which picture making had prevented right after their marriage. Olive had gone on ahead to shop for antiques and clothes, but it was disclosed that her preambulations had not all been directed to the chic salons. She had been seen night clubbing at the Jockey and the Maldoror, Maldoror. That's a lot. With some notorious figures of the French underworld. She had sought out some of the roughest, meanest dives of Montmartre, Montmartre. I'm butchering all this, I know, but anyway, a story began to circulate about the motivation for Olive's plunge into the Parisian bass fonds, BAS-FONDS. She was desperately trying to score a large quantity of heroin to supply her husband, Jack, who was a hopeless addict. Oh, Lord. Failing this, she had committed suicide. What? When the story appeared in the American press, Jack was under treatment for nervous collapse following the news of his wife's death and could not refute the charges. His loyal sister Mary, just emerging from the controversy of double divorce and marriage to Doug Fairbanks, took it upon herself to issue a statement from her new domain, Pickfair, denying such. Okay, here's Olive in Hollywood, it says. And this is in quotes, sickening aspersions, end quote, on her brother's character. Shortly thereafter, an investigation conducted by the United States government into the activities of a certain Captain Spaulding, Spaulding of the United States Army, who had been arrested for dealing in cocaine and heroin on a large scale, revealed in his little black book of steady clients the name of the erstwhile, quote-unquote, ideal American girl. Oh, man. Olive Thomas, dope fiend. Thus, the headlines described lovable, end quotes, kid sister, end quote, Olive, and it was a shock. In 1920, most of America still paid lip service to Victorian morality. It says, Olive's death, good copy. Olive Thomas's last hours in Paris. Says, I've taken poison, dies in her husband's arms. Pickford questioned by the police. Misfortune and divorce. Sorrow on the house of Pickford. And that's what's depicted in this drawing here. Oh, and then here's a picture of her. All right, so it says, lip service to Victorian morality. Is it a comma or a period? It's like a period, I don't know. Watch and ward societies began to speak out about the new menace to American maidenhood. And Chicago's Cardinal Mundelein, Mundelein, felt called upon to issue a tract entitled The Danger of Hollywood, a warning to young girls. With the 20s, the upstart film capital was luring trainloads of young hopefuls from all over the land. Some were local beauty contest winners. Most were merely pretty plucky and poor. All wanted to be movie stars, but few of them even found work as extras or quote-unquote atmosphere. For thousands, it was a trip to Heartbreak City. The sensational death of Olive Thomas caused another star's suicide that September of 1920 to pass almost unnoticed. Bobby Harron, Harron, the sensitive quote-unquote boy of intolerance, shot himself in a New York hotel room on the eve of the premiere of Way Down East. Griffith had bypassed Bobby for that film, preferring his new favorite, Richard Barthelmess, Barthelmess. It broke Bobby's heart. It was Olive's death that was, quote-unquote, made to order for the sob sisters of the day, who loaded the tabloids with morbid speculation. Olive Thomas was good copy for a year following her death, until one of those, in quotes, young Hollywood hopefuls, end quote, crowded her out of the headlines. A rather minor actress, a pal of roly-poly comic Fatty Arbuckle. fat man out. Roscoe, in quotes, Fatty Arbuckle, was a hefty plumber's helper discovered by Mac Sennett, Sennett, in 1912 when he came to unclog the comedy producer's drain. Sennett sized up the affable 266-pound Roscoe and offered him a job on the spot. Arbuckle's butterball appearance and bouncing agility were perfect foils for Sennett's brand of film farce, Mud and Mayhem, pratfalls, and custard pies. Working his way up from Keystone Cops, Fatty went on to team with Mabel Normand in Fatty's Flirtations, Charlie Chaplin in The Rounders, Buster Keaton in The Butcher Boy, and other popular two-reel comedies. Fatty's natural talent as a jovial jackanapes, Jackanapes, assured his success as a screen buffoon and made his fortune. Fatty's value as a laugh-maker rocketed his Sennett $3 a day salary of $1913 to $5,000 a week in 1917. Holy cow. You know, that makes me think of Chris Farley. Isn't his name Chris Farley? I think it's Chris Farley. Anyway, when he signed with Paramount, a quote-unquote gag banner over the famous gate proclaimed, "Paramount welcomes the Prince of Wales." The boozy all-night revel held on March 6th at Mishon Manor, that's Mishawn, Boston, to celebrate that signing almost became a public scandal. It took place at Brownie Kennedy's Roadhouse, where the lavish entertainment laid on in Fatty's honor included 12 quote-unquote party girls who were paid $1,050 for their contribution to the evening's fun. Here's Arbuckle on the witness stand, a frolic turned sour. A blue-nosed busybody peeked through an open transom just as Fatty and the girls were stripping on the table, decided quote-unquote decency had been outraged, and called the cops. Attending the festivities were movie magnates, Magnates, Adolf Zucker, Zukor, Jesse Lasky, Lasky, and Joseph Schenck, Schenck. They ended up paying $100,000 in hush money to the Boston District Attorney and Mayor James Curley, Curley, to bury the incident. Wow. It was at another of Fatty's frolics 4 years later that an obscure starlet achieved instant renown. Unfortunately, the young lady was in no position to profit from her fame. Virginia Rappe, R-A-P-P-E, a lovely brunette model from Chicago, had attracted some attention when her smiling face appeared under a sunbonnet on the sheet music cover of, in quotes, "Let Me Call You Sweetheart," end quote. An offer came from Sennett, and she went to work on his lot, taking minor parts. She also did her share of sleeping around, oh man, and gave half the company crabs. Oh my God. This epidemic so shocked Sennett that he closed down his studio and had it fumigated. My Lord. Virginia was forgiven, however, and soon started quote-unquote going steady with veteran Senate director Henry Paith, it's his quote-unquote Paith, P-A-T-H-E, Lerman, L-E-H-R-M-A-N. He gave her a small part in his film Fantasy, and later introduced her to Arbuckle when he directed him in Joey Loses a Sweetheart. Virginia's raven-haired beauty was noticed by William Fox when she won a, in quotes, Best Dressed Girl in Pictures award. He took her under contract. There was talk of starring Virginia in a Fox feature, Twilight Baby. Virginia Rappe seemed to be on her way. Oh, Lord. Here it says Fatty, a roving eye. And the other picture is Virginia Rappe, Sunbonnet Girl. So here's that actor. Oops, excuse me. And here's the actress, the one that gave everybody crabs. She was sleeping around and stuff. Sweet Jesus. Arbuckle had his roving eye on Virginia for some time. He had asked her to be a leading lady in one of his comedies and had insisted that his friend Bambina Maud Delmont bring her to a party celebrating his new $3 million contract with Paramount. Fatty loved liquor and ladies. The more the merrier. Wow. On a whim, Fatty chose San Francisco as the scene of his revel, R-E-V-E-L. It would give him the chance to try out his new $25,000 custom-made Pierce Arrow, whatever that is, Pierce-ARROW. On Labor Day weekend, 2 carloads of holidaying film folk roared off in great hilarity on a 450-mile dash up the coast highway to the city of Hills. Fatty and his movie colony cronies, Lowell Sherman and Freddie Fishback, were piled in his flashy Pierce Arrow. Oh, it's a car. With Virginia Rape, Bambina, Maud Delmont, and assorted showgirls in another. Arriving in the Bay City late Saturday night, Arbuckle checked into a luxurious hotel, St. Francis, sending the girls on to the palace. Fatty took 3 adjoining suites on the 12th floor, enough room for any developments. Fatty rang up his bootleg connection, Tom Tom the bellboy, found some jazz on the radio, and the party was on. So it says Fatty and his Pierce Arrow the morning after. So anyway, here's him and a lady, I'm not sure who that is. And then here's the car, all those people, and I guess that's Fatty down there, I'm not really sure. Okay. On Labor Day afternoon, Monday, September 5th, 1921, the party was still going strong. It was Fatty's quote-unquote open house, with people coming and going, the crowd swollen to about 50, and the host a happy drunk. Virginia and the other girls were down in gin-laced orange blossoms. Some shed their tops to do the shimmy. What? Guests were trading pajama bottoms. What? And the empty bottles were piling up. At about 3:15, Arbuckle, flapping around in pajamas and bathrobe, grabbed Virginia and steered the tipsy model to the bedroom of suite 1221. He gave the revelers his famous leering wink, saying, end quote, "This is the chance I've waited for a long time," end quote, and locked the door. Oh, Lord. Bambita Maud Delmont later testified that the festivities were stilled when sharp screams rang out in the adjoining bedroom. Weird moans were heard through the door. After much pounding and kicking, a giggling Arbuckle sallied forth in ripped pajamas, Virginia's hat squashed on his head at a crazy angle, and quipped to the girls, end quote, "Go in and get her dressed and take her to the palace. She makes too much noise," end quote. Oh my God. When Virginia kept screaming, he yelled, end quote, "Shut up or I'll throw you out the window," end quote. Oh, wow. And Bambina and a showgirl friend, Alice Blake, found Virginia nearly nude on the disordered bed, writhing in pain and moaning, end quotes, I'm dying, he hurt me," end quote. As Alice later testified, end quotes, "We tried to dress her but found her clothing torn to shreds. Her shirt, waist, underclothes, and even her stockings were ripped and torn, so that one could hardly recognize what garments they were," end quote. My God. Virginia was only able to whisper to a nurse in the exclusive Pine Street Hospital where she was taken, end quotes, "Fatty Arbuckle did this to me. Please see that he doesn't get away with it," end quote, before sinking into a coma. What? On September 10th, 1 year to the day after the death of Olive Thomas, Virginia Rape died, age 25, losing forever her chance to star in Twilight Baby. Oh my God. The cause of her death almost went undiscovered. The San Francisco deputy coroner, Michael Brown, suspicious after a quote-unquote fishy phone call from the hospital inquiring about a post-mortem, went around personally to see what was going on. What was going on was the beginning of a frantic cover-up. He was just in time to see an orderly emerge from an elevator and head for the hospital's incinerator with a glass jar containing Virginia's injured female organs. He questioned the organs from the reluctant doctor so that he requisitioned the organs from the reluctant doctor so that he could conduct his own examination. Thus, it was revealed that Virginia's bladder had been ruptured by some form of violence, which led to her death from peritonitis. Brown reported the matter to the Superior Coroner T.B. Leland, and it was agreed that a police investigation was in order. Detectives Tom Reagan and Griffith Kennedy were soon grilling the uneasy hospital staff to find out who was covering up what. They found out. So did the newspapers when Fatty Arbuckle was charged with Virginia rape and murder. That's insane. And we're going to leave it there. Don't go hanky, and a Gashowski. We meet again. Love you, mean it.